Okay. Raskolnikov mocking Zametov maliciously. Obvious? Then why haven't you caught him yet? Zametov. Well, they'll catch him. Raskolnikov. Who? You guys? You really think you're capable of catching him? Good luck with that. Your entire strategy relies on whether a suspect is spending cash or not. If someone was broke and suddenly starts throwing money around, you decide he's the killer. A toddler could outsmart you with that logic. Zamiro. The truth is, they almost always do exactly that. A guy will plan a genius murder, risk his life, and then immediately run to a cheap bar to get drunk. They get caught because they spend their money. Not everyone is as incredibly as clever as you are. You wouldn't go celebrate in a bar, would you? Raskolnikov scowled and stared intently at Zamidov. Raskolnikov, with clear annoyance, you seem to love this topic. Are you dying to know how would I act in the situation? You? Zamidov firmly and seriously, a dangerous edge appearing in his eyes. Yes, I actually would. Raskolnikov, that much? Zamidov, that much. Raskolnikov leaning close again, whispering so intensely that Zamidov visibly shivers. Fine. Here's exactly what I would do. I would have taken the cash and the jewelry, walked right out of there, and headed straight to some abandoned, isolated lot surrounded by fences where nobody ever goes, like a secluded garden patch. Ahead of time, I would have scouted out a massive boulder weighing over 100 pounds that had been sitting in the corner since the building was first built. I would lift that boulder up. There's guaranteed to be a hollow space underneath it. I would drop all the money and the jewelry right into that hole. Then I would roll the boulder right back into the place so it looked completely undisturbed. Stomp it down with my boot and walk away. And for a year, 2 years, maybe three, I wouldn't touch a single bit of it. Let them search all they want. There wouldn't be a single shred of evidence. Zamiro, whispering too, backing away in the fear of Raskolnikov's glowing, manic eyes. You are completely insane. Raskolnikov had turned terrifying pale. His upper lip was twitching and trembling. He leaned in as close as humanly possible to Zamiro, his mouth moving without any words coming out. With this agonizing silence lasted for 30 seconds. He knew exactly what he was doing, but he couldn't stop himself. The lethal confession was vibrating on his lips, like the shaking latch on that door. Any second now it was going to burst out. Any second he would let it slip. Raskolnikov blurting it out suddenly. And verified was the one who murdered the old woman Elizaveta. He instantly realized the horror of what he had just done. Samuel stared at him wildly, his face turning as white as the tablecloth. A twisted, forward smile froze on his face. Samuel, finally, faintly breathless. Is that even possible? Raskolnikov glared at him with pure fury. Raskolnikov, admit it, you believed it for a second, didn't you? Samito, panicking, tried to laugh it off. Not at all, I believe it less than ever now. Raskolnikov, can't you little bird? So you did believe it before, if you believe it less than ever right now. Zamito, visibly embarrassed and flustered. No, not at all. Have you just been trying to scare me this whole time just to drop that punchline? Raskolnikov. Oh, so you don't believe it? Then what were you whispering about behind my back when I left the police station? And why did that explosive lieutenant grill me the second I fainted? Hey, waiter! Shouting as he stood up and grabbed his cap. What do I owe? Waiter running over. 30 kopecks, sir. Raskolnikov. And here is 20 kopecks for the tip. Look at that. So much money. Holding out his trembling hands full of cash right in front of Zemdov's face. Red bills, blue bills, 25 whole rubles. Where do you think I got them? And where did these brand new clothes come from? You know damn well I didn't have a single penny. I bet you're already been interrogating my landlady. Well, whatever, enough talking. See you around. He walked out, his entire body shaking from a wild hysterical rush. Sorry. Sorry. Rush that felt almost intoxicatingly pleasurable. Yet inside, he felt entirely dark and completely exhausted. His face was contorted as if he just had a seizure. His energy was fading fast. Any sudden shock or confrontation could instantly jolt him back to life, but his strength collapsed the moment the adrenaline wore off. Left entirely alone, Zambrano sat frozen for a long time. Deeply lost in thoughts, Raskolnikov had accidentally completely rewired his brain on the matter and forced him to a final conclusion. Zamedov, deciding to himself, Lev Petrovich is an absolute idiot. Raskolnikov had barely opened the restaurant door when he crashed right into Razumin on the front steps. They didn't see each other until they literally collided. For a second, they just stood there, measuring each other up. Razumin was completely shocked, and then pure, fierce rage flared up in his eyes. Razumin screamed at the top of his lungs. So this is where you are? You snuck out of your sick bed. I've been hunting for you everywhere, looking under the couch. We even went to your attic. I almost punched Nestessa because I was so worried about you, and you were just hanging around? Rodia, what the hell is going on? Tell me the truth. Confess right now. Do you hear me? Raskolnikov completely calm. It means I'm sick to death of all of you. And I just want to be left alone. Resume him. Alone? You can barely even walk. Your face is white as a sheet. And you're gasping for air, you idiot. What were you even doing inside the Crystal Palace? Tell me right now. Raskolnikov, let go of him, trying to push past him. This was the final straw for resuming. He clamped a heavy, firm grip onto Raskolnikov's shoulder. Resuming, let you go? You have the nerve to tell me to let you go? Do you know what I'm about to do to you? I'll literally pick you up, tie you into a bundle, carry you home under my arm, and lock you into your room. Raskolnikov speaking quietly with a deceptive calmness. Listen, Razumin, can't you see that I don't want your charity? You have this bizarre obsession with forcing your help onto a man who literally hates it, who finds it a miserable burden. Why did you even bother tracking me down when I first got sick? Maybe I was perfectly happy to die. Didn't I make it clear enough today that you're torturing me? That I'm completely sick of you. It's like you enjoy tormenting people. I promise you, all of this is actively ruining my recovery because it keeps me making furious. It keeps making me furious. You saw that Zosimo walked away just to avoid aggravating me. For God's sake, just leave me alone. Two, what right do you even have to trap me here by force? Can't you see I'm completely sane right now? How on earth can I convince you to stop stalking me with your kindness? Call me ungrateful, call me cruel. Just leave me the hell alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. He started out speaking coldly, secretly enjoying the poisonous words he was aiming at his friend. But by the end, he was hyperventilating and screaming in maniac frenzy. Razumin stood there for a moment, processed it, and slowly dropped his hand. Razumin, gently and thoughtfully. Fine, go to hell then. Roaring loudly as Raskolnikov turned to leave. Wait, listen to me. Let me tell you something. You are all a bunch of whining, dramatic attention seekers. The second you have a minor problem, you sit and obsess over it like a hen sitting on an egg, and you aren't even original. You copy it from the books. There isn't a single authentic spark of life in you. You made of cheap medical grease with cold fluid in your veins instead of actual human blood. I don't believe a word from any of you. Your main goal is life. Your main goal in life is to act as unhuman as possible. Stop right there, yelling with renewed anger as Raskolnikov tried to walk away. Listen to me. I'm having a housewarming party tonight. The guests are probably arriving right now. I left my uncle there to host them just so I could run out and look for you. If you want a complete brainless idiot, if you want an original person instead of a cheap copy, look, Rhoda, I know you're smart, but you're a fool. If you weren't an idiot, you'd come over to my place tonight instead of wearing your shoes walking the streets. Since you're already out, you might as well. I'll give you a comfortable armchair. My landlady has a great one. A hot cup of tea, good company, or you can just crash on the couch. At least you'll be around there. Sosmo will be there too. Will you come? Raskolnikov, no. Okay, wait 20 seconds. Fucking here. Let me check the camera. Good. Now resume him, losing his patience entirely. BS. How do you even know? You can predict how you will feel later. You don't know anything. I've got into massive, vicious fights with the people 1,000 times and then run right back to them afterward because I felt guilty. Just remember, poaching folks' house, third floor. Raskolnikov. Honestly, Razumin, I think you let someone beat you up just out of the pure kindness of your heart. Razumin, beat me up? Whew. I'd rip his knobs off if he even tried. Pochinko house, number 47, Babushkin apartment. Raskolnikov. I'm not coming. Razumihin, turning to walk away. Razumihin, shouting after me. I bet you will. I'm cutting you off if you don't. Wait, hey! Is Zamidov still in there? Raskolnikov. Yes. Razumihin, did you see him? Yes. Did you talk to him? Yes. About what? Fine, damn it. Don't tell me then. Pochinko house 47, Babushkin's apartment. Don't forget. Raskolnikov kept walking and turned to the corner onto Sadovy Street. Razumin watched him walk away with a worried look. Then, throwing his hand up in frustration, he walked into the restaurant building but paused before the stairs. Razumihin talking out loud to himself. Damn it! He sounded totally rational, but still, I'm an idiot, as if crazy people don't surround rational all the time. This is exactly what Zosimo was terrified of, tapping his forehead. What if, how could I just let him walk off alone? He might go drown himself. Ugh, what a massive mistake. I can't leave it like this. He sprinted back outside to catch up with Raskolnikov, but there was no sign of him anywhere. Cursing, he walked fast back into the crucial place to interrogate Zamidov. Raskolnikov walked straight to the X-bridge, stood right in the middle, and leaned his elbows on the railing to stare out into the distance, like this. After parting ways with Razumihin, a wave of profound weakness hit him. He could barely stand. He desperately wanted to just sit and collapse right there on the pavement, leaning over the water He stared mindlessly at the last pink glow of the sunset, at the rows of buildings turning into dark silhouettes in the twilight, and at one distant attic window across the river that flashed like fire in the sun's final rays. The dark, murky water of the canal caught his gaze. Finally, red spots started flashing in his eyes. The building seemed to sway, and the pedestrians, the canal banks, and the carriages all started spinning. Suddenly, he jerked backward, snapped out of his fainting spell by a horrific, shocking sight. He realized someone was standing right to his right. Right. He looked over and saw a tall woman wearing a headscarf with a gaunt, sickly yellow face and hollow, bloodshot eyes. She was staring straight ahead, but her eyes were completely blank. She clearly didn't recognize anyone or anything. Suddenly, she slammed her right hand onto the ledge, swung one leg over the railing, then the other, and hurled herself directly into the canal. The disgusting, filthy water split open and swallowed her up for a split second before she bobbed back up to the surface. Drifting slowly with the dirty current, her head and legs submerged, her dress puffed up like a balloon across her back. The crowd, dozens of voices screaming, "A woman drowning! Someone is drowning!" People sprinted over, both sides of the canal, quickly panicking with spectators. On the bridge, a crowd swarmed around Raskolnikov, showing up against his back. A woman in the crowd crying hysterically, "Oh my God, it's our Afrosinia! Lord, help us, save her! Someone pull her out, please!" The crowd shouting, "Get a boat! Find a boat!" But they didn't need one. A policeman sprinted down the canal steps, ripped off his heavy winter coat and boots, and plunged directly into the freezing water. It was an easy rescue. She was floating just a few feet from the steps. He grabbed her clothes with one hand and used his other to grab a long pole his partner held out from the bank. The drowning woman was hauled out instantly. They laid her flat on the cold granite sidewalk of the embankment. She quickly woke up, lifted her head, sat up, and began hacking and coughing violently, mindlessly wiping the freezing water off her wet dress. She didn't say a word. A woman in the crowd wailing next to her. She drank herself completely out of her mind. Completely out of mind. Just the other day, she tried to hang herself, and we had to cut her down. I just ran out to the grocery store for a second and left my little girl to watch her. And now she does this. She's my neighbor, gentlemen. She's my neighbor, gentlemen. We live right over there, the second house from the corner, see? The crowd began to disperse. The police stayed behind, surrounding the shivering woman, and someone brought up taking her to the station. Raskolnikov watched the entire scene with a bizarre sense of absolute numbness and indifference. He felt disgusted. Raskolnikov muttering to himself, "No, that's disgusting. Drowning in water. That's a pathetic way to go. There's no point to it, no use waiting around. What about the police station? Why isn't Zamidov at the office anyway? The station stays open until 10 o'clock. He turned away from the railing and looked around. Raskolnikov resolutely. Fine, let's do it. He walked away from the bridge and headed straight toward the police station. His chest felt completely hollow and dead. He didn't want to think anymore. Even his deep depression had vanished. That there was no trace left of that fiery energy he had felt when he was stepped out to put an end to it all. It had been replaced by total freezing apathy. Raskolnikov, thinking to himself as he walked slowly and listlessly along the canal, well, it's an escape route. Either way, I'm ending this because I want to. But it is really a way out. Who cares? I'll still get my single square yard of survival space. Ha! But what a pathetic ending. Is this really how this ends? Should I confess to them or not? Damn it! I'm so incredibly exhausted. I need to find somewhere to sit or lie down right now. What makes me feel the worst is how incredibly stupid all this is. But honestly, I don't even care about that anymore. What ridiculous thoughts pop into your head when you're dying? To get to the police station, he just needed to walk straight and take the second left turn. It was only a few steps away, but at the very first intersection, he froze. After thinking for a minute, he took a detour down a side street, going 2 blocks out of his way, maybe completely randomly, or maybe just to delay the inevitable and buy himself one more minute of time. He walked with his eyes glued to the pavement. Suddenly, it felt like someone whispered directly into his ear. He snapped his head up and realized he was standing right at the front gate of the building. He hadn't passed it or been anywhere near it since the night of the murder. An uncontrollable, overwhelming magnetic pull forced him inside. He walked into the courtyard, passed through the main archway, turned into the first entrance on the right, and began climbing the exact same staircase to the fourth floor. The narrow, steep stairwell was pitch black. He paused at every single landing, looking around with a dark curiosity. On the first landing, the window frame had been ripped out. Raskolnikov thinking to himself, was, that wasn't like that back then. Then he reached the second floor apartment where the Nikolay and Dmitri had been painted. Raskolnikov, thinking to himself, it's locked up and the door has a fresh coat of paint. It must be up for rent. Then the third floor and finally the fourth. Raskolnikov, thinking to himself, oh, there it is. He was stunned to find the apartment door wide open. There were people inside. He could hear their voices. He hadn't expected that at all. He hadn't expected that at all. After a brief hesitation, he climbed the final steps and walked inside. The place was being renovated. The workers were everywhere. This completely baffled him. Somehow he had subconsciously expected to find everything exactly the way he had left it. Maybe even the bloody body still lying on the floor. Instead, there were bare walls and zero furniture. It felt incredibly surreal. He walked over to the window and sat down on the sill. There were two painters, both young guys, though one was clearly older than the other. They were pasting new white wallpaper covered with purple flowers over the old, filthy, stained yellow wallpaper. For some reason, this made Raskolnikov furious. He stared at the new wallpaper with his pure hatred, as if he felt personally insulted that they were changing the crime scene. The workers had clearly stayed past their shift and were hurriedly rolling up their tools, getting ready to head home. They completely ignored Raskolnikov's entry and kept talking. Raskolnikov crossed his arms and listened. Elder workman. So she shows up at my place first thing in the morning, totally dressed up. I look at her and say, why are you all dolled up? And she says, I would do anything to make you happy. Tit Vasilich. Can you believe that? And she was wearing clothes straight out of a fashion catalog. Younger workman. What's a fashion catalog? Clearly looking up to the elder guy as an expert. Elder workman. It's a book full of colorful pictures that get mailed to the local tailors every Saturday from overseas. It shows people how they're supposed to dress, both men and women. The men are usually wearing fancy fur coats, and the ladies' dresses have more ruffles and layers than you could ever imagine. Younger workmen with absolute awe. Man, you can find literally anything in St. Petersburg except your own parents. This city has everything. Elder workman, wise and serious. Accept them. You can find anything your heart desires. Here, kid. Raskolnikov stood up and walked into the inner room where the heavy safe, the bed, and the dresser used to be. The room looked tiny now that it was completely empty. The wallpaper was unchanged here. In the corner, a faded outline showed exactly where the religious icon case used to hang. He stared at it, then moved to the window. The old worker glared at him suspiciously out of the corner of his eye. Elder workman abruptly. Can I help you with something? Instead of answering, Raskolnikov walked out into the hallway and yanked the doorbell string. It was the exact same bell, making the exact same correct metallic ring. He pulled it a second time, then a third time, closing his eyes to listen and remember. The horrific, agonizing terror he had felt that night began flooding back into his body with vivid intensity. He shuddered with every single ring, yet it gave him a sick, satisfying thrill. Elder workman shouting as he walked out to the hallway. Hey, what do you want? Who even are you? Who even are you? Raskolnikov walked back inside the apartment. I want to rent the apartment. I'm just looking around. Elder workman. Who inspects apartments in the middle of the night? You're supposed to come up here with the building manager. Raskolnikov. The floors have been scrubbed. Are you guys going to paint them? Is there any blood left? Elder workman, uncomfortable and nervous. What blood? Raskolnikov. You know, the old woman and her sister who were hacked to death right here? There was a literal lake of blood on his floor. Elder workman getting visibly scared. Who the hell are you? Who am I? Yeah? You really want to know? Come with me to the police station and I'll tell you exactly who I am. The painter stared at him completely incomplete shock. Elder workman, we need to go. We're late anyway. Come up. Come on, Alyoshka, let's lock up. Raskolnikov completely indifferent. Fine, let's go. He walked out first and slowly heading down the stairs. Once he reached the bottom halfway, he yelled out, Hey manager! A small group of people are standing by the entrance watching the street. The two building porters, a peasant woman, a man wearing a long coat, and a few others. Raskolnikov walked straight up to them. First porter, what do you want? Raskolnikov, have you been to the police station today? I just got back from there. Why? Is it still open? Of course it is. Is the assistant chief there? He was there a little while ago. What do you want with him? Raskolnikov didn't answer. He just stood next to them, completely lost in his own head. Elder workman stepping forward. This guy just came down from the apartment. Which apartment? The one we're renovating. He asked us, Why did you wash away all the blood? Then he goes, There was a murder here, and I want to rent the place. Then he starts yanking on the doorbell so hard he almost broke it off the wall. Then he tells us, Come to the police station and I'll tell you everything. He wouldn't leave us alone. A porter stared at Raskolnikov, scowling in confusion. First porter demanding aggressively, Who are you? Raskolnikov in a lazy, spacey voice, not even turning around, just staring into the darkening street. I'm Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov. I'm a former college student. I live in the Shills building right down the street, apartment number 14. Apartment number 14. Ask the manager there, he knows who I am. First porter. Why were you up in the apartment? Raskolnikov. To look at it. First porter. What is there to look at? Man in the long coat interjecting sharply. Take him straight to the police station right now. Raskolnikov looked back at him over his shoulder and said in that same slow, monotone voice, "Let's go." Man in the long coat, gaining confidence. "Yeah, drag him in. Why is he poking around in that apartment? What is he plotting, huh?" Elder workman, muttering. "He's not drunk, but God only knows what's wrong with his head." First porter losing his temper completely and shouting, "What do you actually want from us? Why are you just lurking around here?" Raskolnikov taunting him. "What's wrong? Are you guys terrified of the police station?" First porter, "Terrified? Why the hell are you hanging around our building?" Peasant woman screaming, "He's a criminal!" Second porter, a massive peasant with a heavy ring of keys on his belt, losing patience. "Why are we wasting our breath talking to this guy? Get out of here. He's a total creep, no doubt about it. Move it." With one violent show, the massive porter grabbed Raskolnikov by the shoulder and threw him onto the street. Raskolnikov stumbled forward but managed to keep his balance, stared at the crowd in absolute silence, and slowly walked away. Elder workman, what a weird guy. Peasant woman, there are so many freaks walking around these days. Many Longwood. You guys should have dragged him to the cops anyway. Second porter, better just stay away from him. He's a total psycho. That's exactly what he wants. Trust me. Once you get the cops involved with a guy like that, you'll never get rid of him. I know his type. Raskolnikov thinking to himself as he stood in the middle of the intersection. Should I go to the police station or not? He looked around, almost as if he expected someone to materialize and tell him what to do. What to do? But there was no sound. Everything was as dead and silent as the stones beneath his feet. Dead to the entire world, but especially dead to him. Suddenly, at the far end of the street, about 200 yards away, he saw a massive crowd gathering in the fading light. He could hear chaotic shouting and talking. In the dead center of the crowd was a carriage, and a lantern cast a bright glow in the middle of the road. Raskolnikov, thinking to himself, what's going on over there? He turned right and walked toward the chaos. He felt a desperate urge to latch onto any distraction. A cold, bitter smile crossed his face because he had completely resolved to turn himself in anyway, and he knew that very soon all of this would finally be over. Ended, finally ended. Let's end it with completely open eyes. Yes. यार इतनी नींद भी आ रही है आंखों में थोड़ा जागे रहो ना भाई